Located on the Nolichucky River in Unicoi County, Tennessee, there is a place called the Devil's Looking Glass that has so much lore and ghost stories that I'm just going to touch base on a few. This is the place where the devil himself is known to be lurking at night, especially when the moon shines on the rock. You'll be able to make out the devil's face, or at least see him looking back at you. Maybe it's the play on your eyes, but right there on the cliff face might be what they're seeing. Now, the Devil's Looking Glass is on the Nolichucky River. And yes, I know that Helen has come through and just destroyed so much, and my prayers and thoughts are out there with y'all in Tennessee and North Carolina and surrounding areas. But the story of the Devil's Looking Glass not only features the devil, y'all, but there are a couple other spirits here as well. One of the stories goes back to the Cherokee. And the Cherokee said that there was a woman in the tribe that had a husband. And she was so upset because she got word that her husband had passed away in battle. Well, one early morning, she got up and she climbed herself right up there at the very top of that cliff, and she jumped off. And on her way down, she screamed her lover's name and for him to return to her. Now, the story goes that if you're out there in the early morning hours and you happen to be right by the Devil's Looking Glass, you can still hear her crying out for her lover, for her husband, or just crying for missing him. Now, there have been a few other tribes that live in this area as well as the Cherokee, and they all have the same story about a demon living in one of the caves by the cliff. And if your canoe got too close to that cliffside, well, you're in trouble. Or if you happened upon it, well, things would get thrown at you, and you would be unlived, and possibly the demon's next meal. Now, if you want to come back into the late 1800s, early 1900s with the legend of old Miss Wilson, then I'm going to tell you the witch that lived on the Devil's Looking Glass. Old Miss Wilson got a bad reputation because it said that if you walked past her cabin at night, you could hear multiple voices coming from that little shack in the woods that an elderly woman couldn't have been making, especially not one that lived alone. She was said to summon Satan himself and all kinds of spirits, and that she released them in the Devil's Looking Glass. And they're still said to roam that land to this day. With so many other stories attached to the Devil's Looking Glass, I'm going to have to come right back to this, y'all. So there's going to be a part 2. If you like the story, you know what to do. And don't forget to follow me for more paranormal stories.